ziu, mizkaz, merk, rus, z, miz, kazhu, gavat, lil, has, lahag, nati, azav, magar, ili. What are your impressions of the chant this time?
Well, I've opened it to my notes, and it's like things fall into place. And this also is matches my mood. It's like the mood of people, in general, not everybody, but maybe the mood of people. It is real joy, just not really existent anymore. Are people sad? Is that the reason why people are so compliant? Because they're really sad, you know? Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things about happiness, energy flowing. What's the real meaning of joy?
Well,
Um,
one of the things that does occur within the theme that we lay down here is somebody who's operating outside of, um, what we've been convinced. But so words that occur in this chant are nati, which is the evening, which I don't know why, for example, it wasn't the morning, because it's really like these vernal equinox is really like the sunrise of the year. So what's WSZ, that would have made more sense in that respect, but it's in the spot. It's in the if you break it into that 3 by 3, it's on the last row on the left, so it's more like the the late afternoon of the year. So and Eli is the sun or white, Lil is black or the moon, Ziu, okay, oh, Muzkaz is blade, Merkur is servant or officiator of, Sazi is the dead. Oh, you can say what you're going to say. Well,
I'd also, like in previous notes, I had, there was a question, is it all about the sun? For I see darkness. So, it'll be interesting to see how that, intertwines into things.
As Zev Magur is metal. Oh, it sounds like we have woodpeckers here, but you probably can't hear it with the sound canceling, which is good because there's other sounds that one doesn't want on here. If there's every time somebody starts up a lawnmower in the neighborhood, we don't need to hear that.
Right. There's been, for the past 2 mornings, the springtime birds are back. So it's like it's pretty nice to wake up to the birds in the morning. They get sometimes to where they are like just unreal loud, It's
Okay.
like
Siu is a servant or devotee or worship. It's not the same thing as Merkur, a servant or an official, but it's more of a worshiper or something that acts in the cause of. So acting in the cause of a blade. Okay, that muz because who? That's all one word. Oh, I found it. That's the word for sword. But to reiterate what the numbers are, the numbers we have 0 through 10. A, la, ga, e or e, a or u, r, ha, va, ta, m, n. And then we jump to 50, ba, 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, yeah, a billion, duh. That'd be a trillion, right? So a trillion, and then we have fractions, ch, and 9 times would be p. So something and ch, and then so 9 times would be p, and 7 times k, 3 times s, and 5 times k. So that's the thing.
Okay.
So I mean it's a Q for things, but in the Nokian system, I think the letter Q is the number value is 7. So it's similar in that respect. But so to show before we get into some verses here, you see on the screen, those tags. We have the weapon of the causal, you could say, with the 666, the number of the man, and the SRA. So, much like military dog tags, it's survivors of satanic ritual abuse or whatever. Or you're in the tour of satanic ritual abuse. It's, the things you can get on the internet, right? I don't mean to laugh. That's just like that. It's
I know.
so so this talisman represents the there's the rays coming out inside the triangle. It's the formula, the Jupiter formula, but the secret, so the knowing of secrets and thoughts and that sort of thing. I found these and I kept to my role. I kept to my role of, I guarded it for a while, and I checked to see if any, I checked with local churches and stuff like this that were near the place. If anybody said that anything was stolen, I didn't find any reference to anything stolen or lost. And then after a year, it was legally mine completely. And unfortunately, it was not worth much of anything, but it's a good piece of costume jewelry. And I'm sure that's what it was, is that church that was down the road. Somebody put on costume jewelry to go to church.
Right. Yeah.
That's
neat.
And this looks even neater, but you can tell, the one thing you can tell is the sort of metal that it's on. It's not, it's costume jewelry too, because the sort of metal, because if it was expensive, they'd at least have put it in silver. Because you don't put $1,000 worth of stone in an iron ring. That's well, stainless steel, whatever. I don't want to downcast it. It's stainless steel, people. It's not plain iron. It's not going to rust on you. And my unikite, this is on silver. Well, I mean the chain. I have gone about my way to find silver chains in thrift stores.
Is that a green?
Yeah, it's greenish, so it's unikite, and there should be some sort of redondite little marks on it somewhere, because unikite usually has that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those little pink streaks with it.
All right.
But that's and of course, so it's a stone of compromise and terms and stuff like this. One of the things that people don't per se get too much is the terms. It doesn't destroy individuality for there to be terms.
Right.
And
yeah, individuality is very good.
But yeah, so people have this weird idea that if there's some sort of organization or terms that you don't have individuality, but if anything, it's the pretending. Those groups that pretend they have no dogma and all that stuff. That's just, and so what are your thoughts?
Let's see. Check my notes. Well, I had just earlier thought about a facade, you know, the deceptive outward appearance. And I just so happened, I wrote that right above a note where I had saw an unjust shift. It was like a transfer of power. The world wasn't always this bad, or was it? Was it a facade now or then? Energy blocks. Um, it's horrible agendas. It's just interesting how things go together.
Okay, so without reading from this, so one of the things that they talk about here is the serial killer right. So there's something that, okay, something about this thing resonates with you. So just like the Egyptian things, you don't really, so you're assuming a form and you're using some sort of the thing. Now, there hasn't been a picture of Bryan Kohberger in the paper, so I haven't made it. I haven't. I mean, I guess there's so much stuff online. You could print something. A person can print something out, but so there's a sigil. There's got to be a symbol specific to the right, and candles and all that. And there's some sort of a harsh immersion. So one of the things that I use is there's got to be, something's got to get your blood pumping, and it's important to not some in doing a ritual like this. It's important to not just do something that's like just some random thug on a random thug you hear on the street that has no consciousness or whatever, regardless of the situation. Because we see here, what did I say about what he had to say? He was working with a fuzz and a nothing, like, and we don't know the full story, of course, because he's still facing trial. That's part of it. Maybe he'd be more open to it. Like that one guy they had on that Geraldo Rivera show, and he's like, I killed people so I can be get charged of like 10,000 people in hell or something like that. And so that's what that dude did. But there's a union that happens with the forces, but somebody aware of things. So this guy had this experience for years and years. This is not just out of the blue. He had this experience, like there was these demons like there, and but what did the demons kind of provoke him for? It's like, okay, you got to get trained. Maybe you got to get in shape and all that stuff. So yeah, a person's seal is a thing of now there's not specific details in terms of here are the words you say. It's more of a
Okay.
But what did I do with my last last one? I did one where I specifically connected it to the Temple of Blood stuff. So I looked online. I found out the names of the victims and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so I related it to it that way. And as I pointed out last time in the thing that we had, the way he dealt with it afterwards in particular is the way he got caught.
Right.
And but if you relax with that, because see, I got the sigil pointed out from the thing, and one of the victims was 20 years old. One of them was 21 years old, which serves as a symbolic thing. And you notice that you got this experience coming in that breaks boundaries. but again, you don't have to seek out a 20-year-old or a 1-year-old, and
Right.
that's not quite, that's not quite the thing.
Right.
And honestly, what would people think was going to happen if there's so many people. The idea that the murder rate is less than 1 in 1,000 people that are alternative religion.
Yeah.
And honestly, as we're going to see here in the choices of the verses here, yeah, the Bible makes the murder the point, really. Of course, they don't call it murder; they call it killing to make people Jesus Lord, right?
Right.
So Revelations 17:6, to give some verses that have the theme from the thing. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus, and I wondered, having seen her, with wonder great. So Crowley talks about this symbolism.
Yeah.
And of course, Crowley Crowley was largely trolling people. He was like the version of an internet troll for his day, you could say, because he was writing things in language to make things more offensive. But then again, you could talk about somebody, you can talk about Babylon and her cup of fornications and the murder of the saints and all that stuff. You could talk about that, to hide meaning or to convey meaning and stuff, but you couldn't talk about sex magic. That was just off the wall. So you talked about killing kids instead, and it's like, and now people,
Yeah.
okay,
Right.
so 6:11.
Totally backwards.
But basically not closed off with the thing and stepping aside from this approval of the organization, and that's one of the things that verse conveys to me, I think. So 6:11 of Revelations is, and were given to each robes white, and it was said to them that they should rest yet a time, a little, until shall be fulfilled, and both their bondmen and their brethren and those being about to be killed, as also they. So there are people that their purpose is to be killed and stuff. That's but what type of purpose is that?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, in Thessalonians. Okay, 1 Thessalonians. And of course, when I get to it, I can read the Greek and stuff. So, but I'm not here. But one of the important things is I spend, as soon as one of these ends, it's on the list for the other one. So I'm thinking up of ideas. I'm working towards it. So I'm dedicating the energy into making the altar pieces. I'm dedicating energy of thought of the seasonal to come. That's the real thing about the grimoires. It's not that. So I'm making my own little grimoire. I'm using the verses that connect to those themes, and of course that draws into energy of the other, like the use of white, black, and red, because black would be the thalamus, white would be the pineal, and red would be the pituitary. So anything connected to those, those colors kind of connect you. But people get all super scared about those colors, like, oh no, he likes white, black, and red. So like Hitler, it's like, no, are you,
Right.
and if anything, that makes the person, all this female stuff that they do in mythology. Okay, so 8-15. Okay, that's thus yearning over you, we were pleased to have imparted to you not only the glad tidings of God, but also our own lives, because beloved to us you have become, for ye remember, brethren, our labor and the toil for night and day, working for not to burden any one of you. We proclaim to you the glad tidings of God. Ye are witnesses, and God, how holily and righteously and blamelessly with you that believe we were, even as ye know how each one of you, as a father children his own, exhorting you and counseling and testifying for to have walked with you worldly of God, who calls you to his own kingdom and glory. Because of this also we give thanks to God unceasingly, that having received the word of the report by us of God, ye accepted not the word of men's, but even as it is truly word God's, which also works in you who believe, for ye imitators became brethren of the assemblies of God, which are in Judea in Christ Jesus, because the same things suffered also ye from your own countrymen, as also they from the Jews, who both the Lord killed Jesus and their own prophets, and you they drove out, and God do not please, and all to men are contrary. Now, what was the thing that? Oh, I don't even want to say the name because people are going to make an issue about it. But so there was a guy debating with Bob Larson, and he threw this like, oh, it's just a metaphor. It's just all this stuff was just a metaphor for how these Jews were being contrary to be contrary, and it's like, but you don't be contrary to be contrary, and you realize that whatever price that someone else had to pay, it's paid it's continuing to be paid among the community. Other people have to make their efforts.
True.
And unceasingly, contrary to this normal idea that they have in church, that that Jesus paid for it, right? So therefore the rest of it doesn't matter too much. And that's of course not nonsense, but an important thing to realize is there's always a potential enemy out there. We don't, if one's had the experience protecting oneself and stuff, it's sometimes like there's this thing, there's this crossover moment.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like the person you're having contact with, it's almost like you're not even. It's like it's not even a human. The feel, the contact of whatever. Yeah. So there's always like you always hear it, like you hear even in the Bible of a cool down period. A cool down period, after the battles, they just don't go rush home. They kind of sit around and deal with what's going on. Okay, in Acts 9:29, and he spake and discussed with the Hellenists, the people who accepted Greek culture without it having to be Jewish or Christian or something. But they took in hand to him to put to death. And well, if you got a worthy cause, some people can kill you for all sorts of things or for nothing at all. So it's always something to be aware of.
Needed reason, yeah. Reason isn't even needed.
And 5:30, and even if there is a reason, doesn't mean that the victim should be blamed for the crime. But of course, when it comes to when you're dealing with like people, what Nargargle Schlad talked about, well, sometimes people dedicate their crime to deity, let's call it that, and then people dedicate the punishing or executing the criminal to the deity as well. And in Viking culture, you had those stones, and those stones that they put the people on and executed them. Well, it was a religious act to do the execution, but it wasn't like we need human sacrifices and we can't find a good. It's like, no, they still had to find the reason. That's the thing that people don't get about this so-called pagan and heathen culture, is they still needed to find a reason. 5:30, the God of our fathers risen up Jesus, whom ye killed, having hanged on a tree. And well, there is an implication in that's like totally missed. The implication is that a person has their, even if others curse them, even if others are cursing them, in a way, we can be completely immune from these curses of others.
Right.
And this idea, it's like, oh, if we can kill someone, that proves that their religious mission their spiritual mission is just completely invalid. And it's like, how can you think that that's what's work? And if you put that idea out, people are going to be killed. So it's obvious there's this whole category of life thing. It's not whatever. But 26:4, and took counsel together in order that Jesus they might seize by guile and kill him. Well, in war, things are a little bit different. You can to stop abuse or to save one's life, lying is not the same thing as someone who goes around lying to make even a joke. I don't think it's worthwhile to lie to make a joke. And one, there's that prefrontal cortex thing. Your prefrontal cortex doesn't have that, it loses activity as time goes on if you habitually lie. And your brain kind of tells the difference if you're out there lying to lie. So 26:31 then says to them, Jesus, all ye will be offended in me during this night, for it has been written, I will smite the shepherd and will be scattered abroad the sheep of the flock. Somebody asked a question online today for somebody I'm subscribed to. Would you rather know when you're going to die or how you're going to die? Or I don't want to know it. Neither of those, you fool.
Right.
And so we got Luke 19:16-17. Now the Bible talks a lot about killing. I just wanted to at least define stuff that was like drove the point home. I didn't need to list everything. Sometimes I list everything when it's feasible. I can just be out there in the woods or something and chant the verses, but not if there's like no hope of not having to stop and head off somewhere to use the restroom because the thing's going 3 hours. It's break it into multiple rituals if I feel the need to do that. But okay, so Luke 19:16-17. And came up the first, saying, Lord, thy mina has produced 10 minas. And he said to them, well, I good bondman, because in a very little faithful thou wast, being the authority having over 10 cities. And came the second, saying, Lord, thy mina has made 5 minas. And he said unto them also this one, and thou be over 5 cities. That doesn't sound right. Okay, because I said 19. Okay, 2016. Oh, am I not on the right thing? No, I am. Okay, something's going wrong with my thing.
You're saying Luke
16. And he will come and destroy these huntsmen and will give the vineyard to others. And having heard it, they say, not may it be. But he looking at them said, what then is that has been written this, that stone rejected, that they build, and this become the head of the corner. Okay. Having cast outside the vineyard, they killed him, whereof they do to the Lord of the vineyard. Okay, I don't know where maybe it's 21. Is it Luke? Okay, so okay, because there's this passage here. Okay. Luke 21 is, but you will be delivered up even by parents, brethren, and relations and friends, and they will be put to death from among you, and you will be hated by all because of my name, and a hair of your head in no wise may perish. Be your patient endurance, gain and your souls. Okay, so sometimes things have to happen in order to gain your final position, but I don't know where is it 19? There's something about, bring them, those of them that don't make me Lord, bring them here and kill them. Okay, 27. Verse 27 of 19 is, moreover, mine enemies and those who were unwilling for me to reign over them, bring here and slay them before me. Not the Jesus that you're used to, the one that's like, oh, well, they're not calling me spiritual master, so I want to watch them die, so kill them in front of me. That doesn't sound like the one we were all raised with, right?
Right.
or but they pick and choose what they're going to see sermons on.
Yeah.
For I say to one, everyone shall be given, but from him who has not, even that which shall be taken from him. So that's the verse before that. Okay, well that's what the yell. I'm gonna break it elsewhere, but what does that relate to? So to reiterate from the poem here, with deep breaths, we plunge into the repeated actions that level the playing field. We open ourselves up in the exchanges where we didn't yield. The spirits of darkness watch the child brought where shadow meets light. The distinguishing features have been shown from the night. Suggestions direct guilt, shame, and fright. To no longer be bound by the stars will make it all right. Gazing at the crystal orb, our real world deeds manifest our eternal might. It's always the same thing that disrupts my life. When will all change? I guess when the time is right. I'm a pacifist. Like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. She of red and beady black eyes may rise in the time of catalyst. It is as if the sounds and vision is simply all of the demons. What is your decision? I search for someone to relate to me. When I get slightly calm, I see. The visionary experience precedes the physical, which exceeds the learning and training of the quest. Trying not to get caught, but the AI got him for passing on the mocking. You know, because in the thing, he thought he was being mocked by the spirits. And then once he did his crimes, or at least this set of crimes that he was caught for, he sort of mocked the police, which is yeah. Was it worth it to battle with instead of against? The flames arise and lightning blades descended already for the demon. The fuzz and nothing enlightens. When we know how and what must really be done, we will be completing what has already begun. It shall not be for them to have you caught for what is wrought, following the lines of energy resulting from how you fought, discordant, magnificent, shaped, and upon what was truly sought. And we don't have time here to go over the last selections, but if you have any further thoughts with the spring equinox, I can
I just things jumped out at me. Repeating, opening it to exchanges, the spirits in the dark, figures, limitless suggestions, and something really strong. I feel is something major being discovered, like in a fairly noticeable way. So yeah, it'll
well,
be
one thing with these rituals, even when the theme isn't so dark, is that there's always something about it that goes outside of prediction. And I don't just mean, okay, I'm going to talk in tongues or something like that. Or whatever people like to call it, glossolalia, but but it does, it's like when it's not, but it's not done all the time. It feels like there's something going on there. And